Last year, I tried to be here for you. You guys said, Chris Scott, we need you in Moncton. We see things going in a bad direction. Get your ass over here. So I said, sure. I booked a flight with my wife. We flew on over. And as soon as we landed, they did not even let the plane get to the jetway. They brought the RCMP on board, handcuffed me, put a mask on me, which I took off by using the seat, even though my hands were cuffed behind my back. And they took me away to RCMP jail. Not before putting me in the RCMP vehicle, where I put the cuffs underneath so I could take the mask off again and took a quick beating beside the airport. I would love to get that footage, by the way. It's got to be pretty funny. They kept me in RCMP jail. Well, they kept my beautiful wife, this is her, Jenny, by the way, at the airport. They had her eat pizza while they kept me in jail. And eventually, after about an hour, realizing they really had no reason to have arrested me in the first place, they basically deported me. A Canadian getting deported back to Canada from Canada, which can only be possible during COVID. But that's what happened, and that's why I hadn't come here since. You guys were closed, literally closed. In order to come here, you actually have to get what they call a travel pass, straight out of Nazi Germany. Literally, a travel pass. They didn't even bother changing the name. Like, come on now. And that's what it would take to get in here. And someone like me, they just simply wouldn't give one to. And now you guys are still in this little, they call it the Eastern bubble, or the East Coast bubble. And really all that means is they're trying to isolate you from the rest of the country so you're more easy to subjugate. They're trying to divide you from the rest of the country so you're more easy to control. That's what this is really about. That's why the bridge to PEI looks like a military encampment, because they got them locked down so they can control them. And that's what they're trying to do to all of us. That's why they even tried to do checkpoints between Ontario and Manitoba, Ontario and Quebec. And we need to understand that the only way that we can fight back is when we unite together. And I explain how we do that. I explain that there's 3 phases of the way to fight back. And the way to fight back is called united non-compliance. And it's the easiest thing in the world. It costs nothing. It can be done by every man, woman, and child of every age. You can do it right now. And if everybody does it, like I've been doing it for the last 18 plus months, this is over as soon as it began.
That's right.
It's that simple. But nobody wants to make it that simple. Everybody wants to make it so hard. Everybody wants to talk about all the things that they're afraid they'll lose. I might lose my job. I might not be able to go to school. I had somebody call me yesterday terrified that they have to get their vaccine because they might not be able to play volleyball at a community center. I had to remind the young person that about 65 years ago, people your age were worried about getting shot or blown up while they stormed the beach of Normandy for the freedoms that we are now enjoying, that we are giving away for nothing. We are giving away our rights and freedoms for nothing. And I was trying to warn people for over a year and a half that this entire pandemic was about the vaccine passport. The virus and the vaccine were brought out for the vaccine passport. The vaccine passport was a thing way back in 2018. And this was the vehicle for its implementation. And what is the vaccine passport? It literally is the nullification of the God-given rights and freedoms that we just talked about people dying for.
Yeah.
And it turns them now into government-granted privileges that you only have access to if you submit to a forced inoculation. And not just 1 or 2 or even 3 now. Ladies and gentlemen, I got leaked documents from the Toronto police, and this is why they threw a protest yesterday. Most of you don't even know that. The Toronto police threw a protest on which I was speaking. And of course the media doesn't want to talk about that because everyone wants to think the police are against us, and especially against me. But no, they threw a protest and they wanted me to come there and speak. Why? because they're against the mandatory vaccinations. Why? Because they understand it has nothing to do with vaccination, nothing to do with health, nothing to do with safety, and everything to do with taking away our rights and freedoms. Rights and freedoms that they are there to protect. They actually took an oath to protect those rights and freedoms. They have an oath to protect their family, an oath to protect their country. And they stood up and they opposed those mandatory vaccinations, and we have to all do the same thing. In fact, I got a call just this morning from one of the top chiefs in a section of the frontline workers in all of Ontario. Called me pleading for help. They watched the rally yesterday in Toronto and saw how effective it was, and they want me to organize an entire thing of frontline workers for when I get back home sometime next week. And we're going to do it because this is the only way to stop them. We need to get everybody together and simply just say no. It's that easy. When we do that, they can say they're going to threaten to fire you. They can say they're going to threaten not to let you go to school. How can they do that to millions of people? Do you understand? Do you understand how impossible that is? Everybody thinks they're alone in this. They're not alone. There's entire organizations that are backing you. There are millions and millions of Canadians that do not want this. This is not an anti-vax rally. This is not an anti-mask rally. This is a pro-freedom rally. We want you here if you're masked. We want you here if you're vaxxed. You know how many people I talk to that are vaccinated that are still steadfastly against the vaccine passport? The vast majority. This is something that's going to unite Canadians like never before. They wanted to divide us. Just like I told you how they're dividing you from the rest of Canada. Just how they try to divide us every way possible. Mask wearers, non-mask wearers, essential, non-essential, CERB versus non-CERB. The list goes on and on and on. But this was the most important one for them. They want to turn the vaxxed against the unvaxxed. Because the government knows they don't have the power to do anything to us. They want to make us fight each other, and they need to make us submit to their bullshit. And that's all it is. Bullshit. I was up, we had 15 hours worth of driving, and I spent quite a bit of it since I can't drive. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, you're worried about losing your job, you're worried about losing your right to go to school. I'm currently on 6 separate bails from over a dozen arrests, each bail with its own set of conditions. I can't drive, I can't fly. I'm on bail to him. I have to follow his directions. I'm on bail to her. I literally have to follow everything she says. If I even upset her, I can go to jail. They raided my house and took all of my legally owned firearms. I'm not even allowed to have any type of weapon. Even a dollar store, a little dollar store cap gun can make me go to jail. They had me on conditions where I couldn't speak in Ontario while we had a stay-at-home order in place, which literally nullified my free speech in my own home province for the majority of the year. These are the kind of things they've done to me. They even tried to make me sign a form saying I wouldn't be allowed to be with my wife in order to get myself out of prison. These are the kind of choices they want to make you make. So when I have someone coming to me and say, oh, I might lose my job, or oh, I might not be able to go to school, ladies and gentlemen, it's called war. We're in it. War requires sacrifice. If you don't believe that we're in a war, then you might as well just go jump off a bridge because you're not even living as it is. Because they're coming for you. Mentally, physically, spiritually, financially. Why do you think they're closing the businesses? When you own a business, when you have a job, you're independent. You can just say no to the government. The minute they put you out of work and put you on government assistance, they no longer serve you, they rule you. So why do you think they want to put millions and millions of you out of work? That's millions and millions of you that were once independent that now depend on them to survive. That is the biggest power grab in the history of our country, and they're doing it with your own money. They just gave $1 billion to each province so they could bribe all your unions to back the vaccine passport. Bribe all your politicians to back the vaccine passport. With our own money, they're enslaving us. But I spent a lot of time on the road, like I said, and I actually read the law for the vaccine passport. Imagine that. Imagine that, actually taking the time and reading it. You know what their enforcement is of that law? So if you want to go to a business, if you own a business, and you simply say, I'm not going to enforce the vaccine passport, and some asshole calls the police on you, guess what they can do? they can come there and educate you on how important it is to do the vaccine passport. And that's what they can do to the customer. So if you walk into a store and they, we don't serve you because you're not have a vaccine. You say, well, I don't need to disclose my vaccine status. It says it right there in the law. Every single Canadian has the right to decline their vaccination status. Right in the goddamn law in big, bold letters. It literally tells you. This is a step-by-step how to beat the vaccine passport. Well, Canadians don't have to divulge their vaccine status. Step 1, when someone asks you, are you vaccinated? Your reply is, none of your business. Period. Then if they tell you, well, then we're not going to serve you. If it's a restaurant, would you really want someone to serve you once you've had an argument with them? I would leave and tell them, I hope you go broke because you deserve it. And that's what you do to every one of those service restaurants that will not serve you if you don't do the vaccine pass. We boycott them. And if it's a place like a grocery store and they try to tell you, well, if you're not going to prove your vaccination status, we're not going to allow you in. Allow me. Allow me. Okay, well, I'm going to walk right in. I would like to see you put a hand on me. That's called assault. They cannot touch you. So you walk into the store, you grab what you need, you go to check out. If they will not check you out, you check it out yourself, and you leave them the money. If they want to call the police on you, what are the police lawfully allowed to do? They're allowed to come there and educate you on how important it is to get vaccinated. And that's all they can do. So why would anybody comply with this bullshit? Because you're a nice Canadian and you just want to comply because complying is how you get through this? No, I told you from day one, the more you comply, the more restrictions, the more they're going to take from you. And all the idiots, and yes, you're idiots, and people say, don't call people idiots, you offend them. I don't give a shit, you're idiots. All the idiots that said I was crazy, the more they complied, I said, by the way, you're going to comply yourself right into a vaccine passport. And that's where we are now. And now those same idiots are calling me 100 times a day, 24 hours a day, 385 days a week. That's what it's like, non-stop calling. How do I do this? How do I do that? Maybe you should have been paying attention the last 18 months.
That's right. Exactly.
All you have to do is say no. And guess what? It stops. On September 22nd, it starts. They're going to try to see how many Canadians are stupid enough and weak enough to walk around and say, I'm proud of my vaccine passport, and take their little selfies like complete morons. Or they're going to see how many of you are weak enough to walk into a store and be like, oh, I'm not really vaccinated, and then get kicked out like pussies. That's what they want to see. How many of you comply? Because if they can get over 9 out of 10 of you to comply, the vaccine passport becomes law for life. And they move on to the next phase of their plan, which is banning your cash. They already started telling about how it's a vector for viral transmission and how they want to limit it. So they're going to unleash a digital currency. They're going to combine that with your digital ID, which you already had since 2021 January. Most of you don't even know that. And they're going to combine it with your digital vaccine passport that becomes law October 22nd. And October 22nd, if they get the compliance between September and October, not only does the vaccine passport become digital, not only does the vaccine passport become permanent, guess what, kids? Then it's also going to come with fines. They're going to tell you, now we're going to charge businesses $1,000. Now we're going to charge the people $750. And that's going to be their next way to try to comply you into submission. And if they do that, you all have one duty. And if you don't do it, you're not freedom fighters. You don't care about yourselves. You don't care about your children. You don't care about your country. And you can't even consider yourself Canadians. What do you have to do? The day, forget just say no. When they make it so the vaccine passport has actual fines, you go out and your duty is to get a fine. Every single one of you. You go out and you get a fine. How hard is it to do that? How hard is it to go about your daily business, go to a grocery store, and simply say, call the police, I want a fine. And go there with 20 or 30 of your friends, and all of you get fined. And what happens when thousands and thousands of people get a fine? You overwhelm the system and it's done for. Just like we did with the hotel quarantine. Remember that? Remember that? Isn't it funny how it just doesn't exist anymore? You think it's because of the vaccine that it doesn't exist? Or you think it's because I made a little video walking through the airport, teaching Canadians how to stand up for themselves, teaching Canadians how to assert their rights, and teaching Canadians that the fines are toilet paper that you can wipe your ass with and then stuff them right in the government's face. And I had so many Canadians follow my lead. Because when I did it, it did nothing. When I did it, it wasn't united non-compliance, it was just non-compliance. And it worked. It worked for me like a charm. But when a lot of Canadians did it, when tens of thousands of Canadians did it, what happened? There's no more hotel quarantine. Why? Because so many fake fines were issued. A friend of mine showed me his court date, and it said 2030. I am not kidding you. That means hundreds of thousands of Canadians went and got these fines because they weren't even just giving one out, they were giving two out per person. Then what happened? Within a few weeks, we got rid of the hotel quarantine. What do you think will happen to the vaccine passport when every single Canadian makes it their civic duty to go out and get a fine? What are they going to do with millions of fines? What do you do when you make a law that makes the entire country criminals? Does that mean that there's something wrong with the country of criminals? Or does that mean there's something wrong with the tyrants who made the phony law? That's how you do it. That's how you don't comply. That's united non-compliance. That's just saying no. Not just trying to find an exemption, not just trying to avoid the places that don't accept you. No, you meet it head on. You force the confrontation. You stop hiding like you've been doing for 18 months. Because I don't give a shit what all of you are saying about how you're freedom fighters, this and that. I go to these rallies all the time and I see thousands and thousands of people, mask-free, acting tough. Then when I go to the friggin' grocery store, I see half of those same people, and not one of them's not wearing a mask. They're all wearing it. So why? Why are you all so tough right here? Because I'm here? You want to impress me? If you want to impress me, go out and get yourself a friggin' fine and post it on the internet. That's the movement we gotta start. Not vaccine passport selfies. No, take a selfie with your vaccine passport fine. That's what you should be proud of. And when millions of Canadians do that, we've won. We already made groups in virtually every province. I haven't seen one for New Brunswick yet, unfortunately. But you guys should start it today. For businesses against the Vax Pass. The one in Ontario just got started a week ago and it has 100,000 people. You have how many people? 3,000? Well, send me the link so I can share it on my Telegram, my Twitter, and I'll make sure it gets 50,000. Because the one in BC's got over 100,000. It's leading the way, followed by Quebec, which is around 100,000. The Ontario one's in third place with just under the last time I checked. So we had 1.1 million small businesses at the start of this, but the government did a good job of killing around 300,000 businesses so far in Canada. So by my calculations, we got between 8 to 850,000 businesses left in the entire country. Meanwhile, we got groups representing over 300,000 businesses in Canada saying that they're not going to enforce this Vax Pass. So what's going to happen to this Vax Pass? It's going to go away as fast as it comes. And I don't want to hear anybody talk about this stupid election. That is how they're distracting us from the Vax Pass. Do you think it's an accident that they're doing the Vax Pass lots of different places, but the only place having an election that ends 2 days before the Vax Pass is supposed to be implemented is here? The one place in the world where we have the most rigorous freedom movement across the country, where the people have been awakened the most, the people have been taking the most action. It's not a coincidence they're having this phony election. And it doesn't matter. There's only two candidates that could possibly win the election. Trudeau, who's probably going to win it, unfortunately. Sorry, guys. And O'Toole, the Tool, who's Trudeau light. So wait, we saw how Doug Ford and the Conservatives run Ontario, which is even worse than the rest of the country. But you honestly believe if you elect O'Toole, somehow there's not going to be a vaccine passport, there's not going to be a lockdown, and everything's going to be okay? No. This is called a distraction. This is called a red herring. They want you to believe that your favorite politician will save you because when you vote, that's a Canadian's way of taking action. I voted. I did my part. Now I can sit back down on the couch and wait for the result. No. Your vote means shit. You vote for Trudeau, you get the same thing. You vote for Maxime Bernier, Trudeau wins, you get the same thing. You vote for O'Toole, maybe he wins, you still get the same thing. You vote for NDP, Trudeau wins, you get the same thing. You don't vote, Trudeau wins, you get the same thing. You're starting to understand where this goes now?
Yeah.
That's why I told everybody they should just put my name on the ballot. Take a selfie with that too. Because it doesn't matter who you vote for. They just want you to vote, and they want you to talk about who your favorite politician is, because while you're wasting your time doing that, the vaccine passport's still about to become law 2 days after the election. And then at that point, you haven't even seen it coming, you haven't done anything to defend yourself, and you're screwed. And that's why they're doing this. But we're not going to let that happen. That's why this, once again, this isn't a political rally. This is a freedom rally. And the two things are not intertwined. You never get your freedom back by voting for a politician. Sorry if I'm wrong, anybody in the audience, name one time in history where people living under tyranny voted their way out of tyranny. No, they couldn't. And this is probably the only time in history where we can get our way out of tyranny without even having to actually physically fight. Like, we're so far along, we have so much more power over them that we literally have the ability to right now just go out and be like, screw your vax pass, we're not going to go along with it. Then when they do the enforcement, we literally have the ability to go out and try to get fined. Because the more we get fined, the faster it goes away. And that's power. That's the power of people. And that's what they want to eliminate. And no politician will endorse united non-compliance because it takes the power from the politicians and gives it to the people. If you're not going to comply with any draconian order that's not against your best interest, does it really matter who's in charge? That's a joke. But they want you to believe it does because they want you to believe you don't have the power, and you do. But if you allow them to do the vaccine passport, if you allow them to do the digital currency, you won't have that power anymore, ladies and gentlemen. The individual power will be eliminated. That's what they're doing all of this for. Because each one of us individually has power. And when we put it all together, we have an enormous amount of power that they don't know what to do with. But once they do a vaccine passport, once they do a digital currency, a digital ID, you're no longer individuals with power. You're now literally little blips on a screen that they don't even like. And all they got to do is flip a switch, and you're no longer there. That's what they want. They want to have that kind of power over you because they're scared of you. They're doing things every day to hurt you, hurt your family, destroy your children's future, and they know you're upset about it. So they're trying to do other things to make sure they have more control over you so they won't have to suffer the consequences of their actions. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that simple. We had 3 phases of united non-compliance in order to get our country back. Phase 1 was 2020, the global awakening. When people like me and other people like me all around the world woke people up to the reality that this has nothing to do with health and safety and everything to do with control.
Absolutely.
That's it. It's really that simple. Alter their perception just that little bit, and now all of a sudden, all the propaganda, all the lies, instead of scaring you and paralyzing you, they enrage you and they push you to act. And once you're awake, you can't go back to sleep, so you start waking everyone else. That was the global awakening, the evolution of the human consciousness. And billions of people woke up. So that brought us to 2021, taking action. Phase 2 of united non-compliance. And how are we doing it? We had big groups like this, and I broke them down to the business owners, the concerned parents, the concerned employees, and the people who just wanted to do mass-free shopping and live their life mass-free. And we had these groups go around and do their thing. In BC, we organized almost 2,000 businesses in a month to go against the stay-at-home order between April and May. And they got to open May 25th, the day after we were supposed to open. I tried the exact same thing in Ontario, but they're pussies. I'm not gonna lie, Ontario's full of pussies. And we had about 400 businesses instead of the 1,800. And a week before they were all supposed to open, they all started calling and saying, we're just gonna wait 2 weeks. And guess what? Ontario didn't even open until the middle of July. Why? Because they didn't stand up for themselves. BC opened in May. Why? Because they stood up for themselves. That's the difference. This is the same country, so why are they having different things happen? It's because the people are different. Why is the United States open? They didn't wait for a Donald Trump to come and save them when Joe Biden said, take the jab or you're going to be wearing masks forever. They literally just stood up as a country, laughed in his face, took off their masks, went about their business. They're wide open. Well, we're still suffering. Ontario still has mask mandates. They never even took them away. The rest of North America, you're safe. But in Ontario, as soon as you cross that border, you better put that mask on or you're a crazy person. They literally look at you like you're a psychopath. They look at you like you're Jack Nicholson from The Shining because you walked into a grocery store and tried to buy a carton of milk without a diaper on your face. Where everywhere else in the world it's just fine. And this vaccine thing is even worse. Countries like Japan aren't even using the vaccine. And let's put it into perspective. Japan has almost 200 million people versus our 37 million. A third of their population is over 60 years old, and they have the highest population density in the world in Tokyo. They had no lockdowns like us. They had way less deaths than us. They had no mandated masks, and now they have no mandated vaccines. In fact, they're not even worrying about the vaccine. They're using things like ivermectin. So how are they surviving and even thriving? Well, we have one of the highest infection rates along with one of the highest vaccination rates. Iceland, 100% of their population has at least one dose, and they have one of the highest infection rates in a massive outbreak. Israel, put the Vax Pass back, force the people to take a third injection, and now they have one of the highest infection rates. Over 90% of the people in their hospitals are all vaccinated. The vaccine is what is making people sick, but they don't want you to know that. How are they going to cover it up? I got to tell you, this is what they're going to do, and this is what they're going to say, and we got to let everybody know, especially the ones that have been complying. The cases are going to start rising, especially when they start giving that third dose out. They're going to blame it on a new variant, Delta this, COVID-22, super strain, whatever the hell they want to call it. But the key is they're going to blame the new variant, which is really just the vaccinated people getting sick from getting injected with poison. They're going to blame it on the unvaccinated. And that's going to set the stage for not only trying to divide society against vax and unvax, but set the stage to try to get the public to support the idea of the vaccine passport, segregating and discrimination against the people who choose not to vaccinate. That's what this is all about. So if you can tell the people, especially the ones that have been complying, what's going to happen before it does, and then they get sick on top of it, maybe they'll finally understand that the 4th, 5th, and 6th shot ain't going to set them free, just like the 1st and 2nd did. And if anybody has any doubts how many shots you're going to have to take, Israel already told you it's 3 shots a year, because your immunity only lasts 4 months. So you're never fully vaccinated. You're only fully vaccinated for a few months, and then you need another booster shot of God knows what. And every single time you take a shot, ask any doctor this, ask them if I'm crazy. Every single time you take a shot, you increase your risk of death, you increase your risk of side effects. But they're going to want you to take these shots over and over. I got a document from the Toronto police, and it shows every single one of us has a vaccination status attached to our police file now. And in that vaccination status for COVID, they already have 4 shots allocated for every person, while they were telling you, oh, you're going to need only 1 or 2. They already have 4 shots, and they'll easily expand that. So they're lying to you. That's why the police were protesting yesterday, because they get this information in advance. They have to be told, oh, we're going to need enforcement teams. We're going to need people working overtime. We're going to need people being hired. So they know what's going to happen. Your doctors know too. If you don't believe me, try to book an appointment in person for the middle of October. They'll give you an excuse. Real reason? They already got the memo that lockdown's coming and they can't take the appointments. It's that simple. So what's going to happen? More than likely, Trudeau's going to win on the 20th. On the 22nd, they're going to implement the Vax Pass. Then, the cases are going to rise. They're going to try to implement another lockdown for everybody. Masks for everybody, including the vaxxed. They're going to blame the variant. They're going to blame the unvaccinated. And then they're going to try to only restart society for the vaccinated. That's their plan, to try to get 100% compliance for the Vax Pass. Because if they can't get more than 90% compliance, it doesn't work. If there's 20% of Canadians walking around unjabbed and caring about their rights and freedoms, then they can't rob all of us of our rights and freedoms. Did you hear what their new vaccination target is for adults in Canada? Remember, it was only 75%, guys, no big deal. Yeah, it's 100% now. You cannot achieve herd immunity, according to them, without 100% vaccinated. So now they have an excuse to keep you locked down until they vaccinate every single one of you. And then once they have that done, not only have they got you beat, but now they have a new excuse. We got you all vaccinated, but we still got to keep you locked down until we get zero COVID. That's going to be another buzzword, zero COVID. So they're going to say they need to keep you locked down until there's no more COVID cases. That's what they did to Australia. Australia got locked down with 14 COVID cases. 14. They sent in the military to try to forcibly vaccinate people. They raid over 2,000 homes a day for what they call compliance checks. They are bringing people to involuntary isolation centers for indefinite amounts of time for whatever purpose they deem fit. This is what they want to do to Canada. Canada is the target because we are a beacon of light and hope for the entire world. Make no mistake. You've seen it. You go around the world, and whenever you tell people you're from Canada, they oh, I love Canada, I love Canada. We are seen as this free country. So they know if they can stamp us out in front of the rest of the world while they watch, and they watch Canada fall, and we roll over and we die, the rest of the world's countries, starting with the US, Europe, will just start falling like dominoes. That's their plan. They want to destroy us. They want to destroy you. They want to destroy your family. And you guys aren't doing anything to stop them. Literally. Nobody's doing anything. I'm running around like a crazy person, driving 15 hours a day, all over the country, all over the world, screaming to people, letting them know what's going to happen, letting them know what they need to do. Well, all I hear from people is, what am I supposed to do? Well, all I do is tell you exactly what to do. Do you understand how frustrating that is? When I've been telling people over and over and over what's going to happen for the last 2 years. And then as it's happening, I keep telling people how to avoid it. And instead of avoiding it, the people just keep sitting on their couch and keep complaining. If you don't do anything, you have nothing to complain about. Because this is only possible, everybody look at the person beside you. This is only possible because of you. Because you're not doing anything. If you stood up for yourselves, there's enough people here right now that if every single one of you decided to go to a gym or decided to go to a grocery store or decided to go anywhere and walk in without a vaccine, there's nothing they could do. But you won't, because you won't get off your asses. You'll get off your asses to come and listen to me, but when it actually comes time to get off your asses and put yourself in harm's way, 99% of Canadians are waiting for someone else to do it for them. Well, guess what, Canada? That time is over. And if you want to have that attitude, you're going to get a Vax Pass. And then all the people like me that actually know what's going on, that want to help you, that we're helping you, we'll just leave Canada. We'll find another country. We'll go there. And then Canada will fall. And the majority of the world will fall. But the people like me will be okay. And our families will be okay. The majority of you will not. You will suffer. You will die. I'm sorry. If that's what you want, then don't listen to me. But if you do want to have a life, and you do want to have a Canada, then you have one option. And it's to listen to what I'm telling you, and it's to do what I'm telling you. You can vote for whoever you want. You'll see on September 20th, nothing's going to change. You can sit and complain all you want. September 22nd, the Vax Pass is still going to happen. And at that point, if you don't stand up for yourself and you don't do what I said and go out there and not comply or take the fine and all the rest of it, well, October 22nd, the Vax Pass is going to be a permanent thing, and the country we call Canada will no longer exist. And then you're going to be begging for someone like me to save you. I had people telling me every day, oh, why don't you run for Prime Minister? It's a great idea. We had a poll on Twitter, and they put me up for PM against Trudeau, Bernier, and Jagmeet Singh. At 15,000 votes, I got 65% of the vote, or that's more votes than all of them combined times 3. Okay? That's how pathetic our politicians are. Trudeau can't even go to his own events. He has to cancel them. He does not have public support. But what he does have is public apathy. He's got all of you so scared. Scared. Why do you think he's going on TV and threatening you? Directly threatening you. That's what he's doing because he knows you don't have the friggin' balls. If I had some guy talking to me like that in my face, that's a threat. I would deal with it. We have, as an entire country, our dictator literally threatening every man, woman, and child and telling you to your face how he's going to impose a dictatorship on you. And rather than getting angry and saying, we're going to tear this guy to shreds, you're all saying, oh my God, what are we going to do? Trudeau's so scary. If you're scared of Trudeau, you don't deserve Canada. If you're scared to stand up for yourselves, you don't deserve Canada. And if you're waiting for someone like me to save you, you don't deserve Canada. Nobody can save you. Maxime Bernier is not going to save you. If someone tells you they're coming to save you, they're lying to you. If I told you I was here to save you, I'd be lying to you. But what I can do is teach you how to save yourselves. And that's what I have been doing. In fact, I even wrote a friggin' book about it because I know I have a lot to say. I don't shut up. I can talk for hours. And I have a lot of information to give you people because they're doing a lot of bad things to you. And the media loves to make me look like a psycho, violent, etc. So I said, I'm going to write it all in a book. That way they can't misconstrue it. They can't twist my words. They can't take things out of context. And guess what? This is the most successful tool to date to waking people up. I give it to people and they pass it around their office. And they say every single person that reads it just becomes one of us. This book was taken from 10 hours of me talking and transcribed specifically for the purpose of explaining this pandemic, explaining the 3 phases of United Noncompliance, explaining government propaganda, and explaining where this goes if we do nothing, or where it could go if we do. This book was so scary to them that they got a deal with Amazon to be published, distributed, etc. I spent a month jumping through all the hoops, and we planned a wonderful tour to launch it, starting in Vancouver. 2 days before the tour, I got arrested. What a coincidence, I'm sure. And that's when they put all those wonderful conditions on me of like not being able to drive, etc., thinking that it would prevent my tour. Obviously, it didn't. As soon as I got out of jail, I went to my Telegram, I hired a driver, I made all the provisions I needed to make the tour happen. Got to Vancouver. Thankfully, I was smart enough to pre-order a bunch of my books and ship them to all the different cities I was going to. Because when I got there, about 4 hours before Amazon was supposed to sell my book and launch it, I got an email from them telling me it has now become the first book, my book, Just Say No, the first and only book in the history of mankind to be granted a deal by Amazon only to be banned the day before it went on sale. And their reason was they can ban any content for whatever reason they deem necessary. And how broad is their region? They have books on pedophilia. They have books, they have Hitler's book on Amazon. But this book right here, the book that teaches you about the global pandemic and how to save your family and protect your future, this was banned by Amazon. Ladies and gentlemen, so if you want to wake people up, if you don't want to know what to do, I've given you so many things to do. Buy the book, read the book, give it to other people. When the vaccine passport comes into play on September 22nd, go to all the establishments you can. Tell them not to do it, not to enforce it. If they try, you don't let them. You go in there, tell them to call the police, tell them to call bylaw. Challenge, cause confrontation. That's what you have to do. You have to overwhelm the system, just like we did with the hotel quarantine, because that's the only way. That's non-compliance. That's united non-compliance. They make a law that's illegal, that's not right. We stand up for ourselves, a lot of us, en masse. And then it's like, oh wow, if millions of people aren't agreeing with it, obviously it shouldn't be a law. It's that easy. But if they can scare you by saying, we're not going to let you work, we're not going to let you sit beside people, we're not going to let you go to a restaurant, and you cower in fear like you have been doing the last 18 months, I don't care. I'm going to say it, Canadians have been cowering in fear for the last 18 months, and you comply, then it's going to get 100 times worse than it is. You guys know what you need to do, so let's get out there and do it. I love you all very much. I'm going to be standing over there if you want to meet me, take pictures, etc. I love you, New Brunswick. Nova Scotia! I heard there's maybe somebody going to Nova Scotia tomorrow. I can't comment on who it may be, but I heard that the people in Nova Scotia really wanted someone to show up for them, and I know that person's trying everything they can to get there for them. That's all I can say about that, actually. This is the first time we haven't had sunshine, but I still made sure it didn't rain on us.